Hello early friends, today I have a very special video for you. As I've said in the past, I think there are issues in writing to which there are no objective answers or no unbiased answers, and today's subject is one of those things. What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about titles. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with my discussion videos, allow me to explain to you how they work. It's actually very simple. First, I'm going to share with you my thoughts and my opinions on the particular questions or the discussion questions for this time around, and then you can go into the comments below and let me know what you think, and share with the rest of your writerly friends how you feel about titles and how you come up with titles. But yeah, today's discussion video is super straightforward. It's only 2 questions, so let's dive right in. The first question is the most fun question at all, and it's pretty much the thing that sparked this entire video. What is the first question? It goes a little bit like this. What came first, the title or the story? Oh man, this is a really fun question because I feel that everyone feels entirely different about this. Like, even my close writerly friends do this differently. But before I go about my answer, let me explain to you the point of this question. The point of this question is to answer and to provide an answer to the idea of which comes first to you. Do you first come up with the title before you write the story? Or do you write the story and during the process or at the end, throughout the active revision, you decide on the title? Which comes first to you? The title or the story? For me though, as much as I would like to claim that I do both, I had to look at my, record and to realize that in reality, the title always comes first to me. It's kind of interesting because for me, the title is one of the things that keep me writing and that inspire me because in the act of brainstorming the story, usually a phrase or a set of words would jump at me. And throughout the act of thinking about those things, I would weave the concept of that title into the brainstorming process, and that within itself would emerge me at the idea of the story. And it's weird because I was thinking about this and I was realizing, have there ever been instances when I didn't do this? And for the last 3 years, I have been starting with the title. Like, I would get a little hint of the story idea, and then I would get the title. Like recently with the latest story that I was working on, The Humanity That Remains, I had an idea for the story, and then I got the title, and then I was like, oh, I think we got something here. So I think you can understand why it's a little bit weird for me, from my point of view, to give advice on titles because I always come up with them. I always find them. I always discover them throughout the act of brainstorming, and they usually jump at me, so it's weird for me to give advice on that. Talking about advice though, what's the second question, Max? How do you come up with titles? Now, while I can't give you hard advice, I can tell you how I go about doing things. Throughout the act of brainstorming, I like to, throw words out there and come up with phrases. And also, the biggest thing that helps me is that during the act of brainstorming characters, I just, write paragraphs of what I know about them. I write paragraphs of what I know about them, and in the act of brainstorming, the thing that helps me the most is I write the pseudo character descriptions in the character's voice. I actually write it as though the character is describing themselves. And sometimes particular phrases jump at me. And when that doesn't work, I like to look at the story once I'm done brainstorming, and I like to look at the grand image and ask myself, what do I think this story is about? What do I think is the center of the story? And that gives me a summarized kind of almost general idea of the story, and from there I kind of form a title. This is how I come up with the title for Justine's Blood. Shameless plug! But yes, for me, I come up with titles 2 ways. Either A, throughout the act of brainstorming and writing character descriptions in character voices, phrases jump at me. And if that doesn't get it for me, at the end of brainstorming, I like to look at the grand image and ask myself, what do I think this story would be about? And, see what I can get from there. And the one thing that I want you to take from this, because people see titles as a really final thing, and a really ultimate thing. Like, once you come up with the title, you're set, and I don't necessarily feel like that. I've been really lucky that my stories have had titles appear really early, and they've stuck, and they haven't been problematic titles at all. I mean, I've had to change the title of one book because of legal reasons. But I mean, that's the process of writing. That's life. I mean, what can you do about that? What can you do? Well, you move forward and you advance. What I want to say before I move on, because that's basically, my general thoughts on those 2 questions. What I want to say though is that most of my writing friends don't actually come up with the title from the beginning. And some of them don't even have certain names already picked from the beginning of the story. I mean, it's actually a pseudo running gag that one of Kitty's characters was originally supposed to have a name, but she just kept writing in brackets the boss, so he just became the boss because it was just so much cooler than any other name that we could have come up with. So, little things like that happen, and she doesn't have a title for her story already. I mean, she's been writing that for a while, and she doesn't have one. And you don't need one. You can give it a totally temporary title where you're in the act of writing the first draft. Again, titles, it's funny because titles are a thing that is incredibly meaningful and important when the book is published. Anytime before that, it kind of doesn't matter what it's titled. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this subject. I want you to go right now into the comments below and let me know what you think. Answer these two really simple questions, and let's have a little bit of a conversation. How do you come up with titles? What do you think about the idea of coming up with titles? Do you get them first, or does the story always come first? I think it's really interesting because I have had a really particular history with this. Because again, I generally always 98% of the time get the title through the act of brainstorming, and it's kind of I'm uncovering the bones of this enormous creature, and I'm digging down and searching, and then suddenly I find the name, and I'm like, well, that was helpful. Now, just because that's what things have happened for me doesn't mean that it's the universal way. Every single one of you has a little bit of advice you can hand over to your friends, so let's do that right now. Go share your advice and let's have a little bit of a conversation. Let's share our advice and discover together what we have to say about titles. And as always, I hope that this video helps, and I hope that if anything, I've give you my particular point of view and my way of going about doing things and coming up with titles. With those things said though, I want to thank you for watching, subscribe, do all the socially related things, and if you would like even more writing advice, you can head over to my official writing blog over at maxkieran.tumblr.com. What is air? With those silliness out of the way though, I want to thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll be seeing you soon. Mwah.